Good morning and welcome to Pro Auto Repair. It's a bit chilly outside, we're at 29 degrees right now, so we're hunkering down with the doors shut. But just because it's cold doesn't mean we don't have any work today. And here you see a 2001 Nissan Xterra. It's got a 3.3 liter V6. Of course, it's all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, whatever you want to call it. And all the head gaskets on it are beyond shot, and the owner of the vehicle chose to put in a used replacement engine as opposed to actually repairing the head gaskets and the cylinder heads and whatnot. So just getting started. Hopefully it warms up. Well, here we are, an hour or two later. I'm making some progress. Trying to clear some room. You can see AC compressors off. Michelle Danielson's working on power steering on that side just to give us enough room to go forward and out with the engine assembly. We've also gone ahead and taken off things like the fan, radiator, shroud, hoses, undercarriage, and we're getting there. Check back in a little bit. The sun's coming out. Still damn cold. Well, we had a little interruption. That being this big Suburban. Nothing special, just brakes. Placing pads all the way around, resurfacing rotors all the way around. But in the meantime, as I've been doing that, you can see Daniel's gone ahead and pulled off the intake manifold. Now he's working on that distributor and ignition cables. So we've been slowed down, but we didn't stop. Still rolling. Might be time for more coffee. Oh, picking up where we left off a short while later. Intake manifold is off. Now we've gone underneath the vehicle. As you can see, we've had to take off the front prop shaft to the front differential. Next step, which is a little bit scary for me, is going to be to disconnect the bolts for the manifold / catalytic converters. Yeah, that looks very, very rusty. And very, very rusty normally means something's going to break. Won't be the most fun in the world, but we'll get her. And then after that, loosen up the transmission bolts. Disconnect the engine from said transmission. Got to remove that starter. And then we'll go ahead and start pulling it out. Suburban's just about done. That's the final rotor. That one's taken 3 passes. I'm not going a 4th, so if it doesn't look good after this, then we're getting him a new rotor. But yeah, time to get cracking on that and back to the Xterra. Pick up a little bit later. Welcome back. Well, a little bit more missing from down here. I don't know if you can tell, other than, of course, you know, the prop shaft, which was off before. The starter has been removed, as well as the front differential has been removed. We may have been able to get by getting this engine out without removing it, but it would have been a big old pain in the ass to get to these motor mount, engine mount bolts without taking that diff out. So this will make our life a lot easier. Haven't yet taken the exhaust, but I don't know if you can see the streaks. I've gone and soaked them in a lubricating compound, some PB Blast, remove the O2 sensors, and gonna just let that penetrate. It's a good catalyst. Hopefully it'll break down, soften things up, and allow us to remove those manifolds without anything breaking. So only time will tell. Those manifolds, and then we'll bring it down and get ready to hoist it out here in the near future. Until then, though, another vehicle showed up. It's a 2003 Nissan 350Z. Not the biggest fan of these cars, don't get me wrong. They are fast, they are stiff, but and they're very tail happy. I think that's what I really like about this vehicle, is that, you know, anytime you want to, dry roads, wet roads, doesn't matter what kind of road you're on, you can get the ass into this car to just kick out whenever you want to. But you sacrifice comfort. big time. I'm not a big man by any means. I'm about 5'7", 160 pounds, and I find this car to be pretty cramped. Not to mention visibility isn't the best in the world, and like I said, stiffness. Very stiff cars, very stiff suspension, so not very comfortable. Another thing I really think is stupid about this car, anybody who knows Zeds has seen when you pop that rear hatch, seen that cross member over the back. It looks structural. It looks like it's attached to the chassis and or the suspension, but it is not structural. It is fake technology. It's a piece of plastic that they put there to make it look like it's doing something. I don't really like that. But anyway, that's just here for a thermostat and a coolant flush before things get really cold here in North Carolina. And then, yeah, my business partner's out getting a bite to eat. I'm going to knock this out and then back to that bad boy, so stay tuned. Okie dokie then. Well, transmission has been disconnected. Exhaust segments are out of the way. And as you can see, we got the hoist attached. Daniel's just tightening that bolt to the chain. Make sure it doesn't pop off if we're getting the engine halfway out of the car, because that would suck. Big time. Actually, we're about good to hoist this bitch out of here. And there you have it. Part 2 will be putting its brother in place. Stay tuned. Back for more. Here we have the two engines. A little side-by-side comparison. This is clearly the one we pulled out. This is what's going in place. All that back there is all the stuff that was on this engine that will not be staying on this engine. I like to reuse certain things, intake manifold, use the alternator, we know it's good, use the AC compressor and the power steering pump, we know it's good. Clearly that distributor will be swapped back with the one that was on that engine. And speaking of this engine, we can take a little peek, and we can kind of see where the coolant leak began, back in this area here. That was probably the start of the overheating issues, but you can see inside these plenum chambers just how nasty it is in there. Really, really, really bad. But here at some point we'll be throwing that in, so stay tuned. Something's missing. Getting ready to bring new life to this old beast. Alright. Coming down ever so slightly.
it's a new day. We're still at it. Ran into what we thought were some really, really big problems yesterday, and that once we got the motor in place, the engine assembly in place, we were turning it to put on the torque converter bolts, and the engine would stop at a specific point as if it was locking up, and that scared the hell out of both myself and Mr. Danielson here. For the first time, we thought we were given a bum motor, but it took a little while. It took longer than it should have, but Daniel finally noticed that the distributor cap was kind of bent and forcing the rotor that spins around in there to lock up, and that was stopping the engine from turning. Silly little problem. Fortunately, we have another distributor, the original distributor. We weren't going to use that one anyway. So it was damaged in transport, and yeah. But anyway, come a long way. Intake manifold's in place. A lot of the wiring, of course, all the wiring under the intake manifold is in place. Got the AC compressor on. Danielson's working on that power steering pump. Most of the belts are on, just waiting for that power steering pump for the other. And then we'll finish up electrics. Move on to the radiator and the fan. Distributor, of course, as I said before, hoses and whatnot. We are holding off on the differential, mainly because that's a really, 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 really big, heavy pain in the ass to move, and we want to make sure the engine runs and runs well first before putting that back into place. So, back to it. Fluids! It's time for fluids. Sounds like somebody's coming in the door, too. It's me partner. Time for fluids. As you can see, everything seems to be back together. Got the new distributor in place. Got the radiator, the fan, shroud in place. All the belts are in place and tensioned. Hoses are all attached. Reservoir, battery. Yeah, everything. Well, except that dip. But we're waiting on that. We discussed that earlier. So yeah, now we're on fluids. But speaking of fluids, before we get to that, I need some more coffee. That's not good.
Should all before the engine out, the whole later engineer.
That's much better. That is how an engine should sound. I think we're good. We're going to let it warm up. You know, keep checking all fluids, give it a bit of a road test, and we'll check back. Well, this should be the final chapter of the 2001 Nissan Xterra 3.3 liter engine assembly swap. She's purring like a kitten now. Clearly it's on the opposite side of the shop. It's because I've been road testing it for the past little while. You know, a little bit of highway, a little bit of city. We are still getting some white smoke out the back end, but considering when we dropped the exhaust system, there was a pool of coolant inside the catalytic converters and the exhaust system, it's going to be a little while before all that burns off. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the front catalytic converters are bad. They were just sitting in coolant for God knows how long, and that's just a testament to when you've got a little problem with your vehicle, take care of the little problem before it becomes a massive problem. Because this all started with a minor coolant leak underneath the intake manifold, which led to overheating, which led to prolonged overheating, which led to head gasket failure, which led to coolant getting in through the exhaust system. Right now, it's been about, I'd say, $2,400, maybe $25. I haven't put together the final invoice, but it's not going to be cheap. It's well over $2,000 to replace the engine assembly in this vehicle, and it's quite possible that sometime in the near future, the catalytic converters are going to have to be replaced, and that could be another $800 right there. So again, I can't emphasize this enough. Have your vehicle routinely checked by a technician that you trust, and more importantly, take care of your small problems before they become big problems. So I've put about 100 miles on the vehicle so far, and so far no check engine light saying anything about the catalytic converters. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. We will, of course, advise the client of everything we found during this shoot, and during this transplant, and you know, they'll let us know if they want us to go ahead and replace the cats. I'm guessing we'll let them be for now until they present a problem, if they present a problem. Also, that rattling that we heard upon initial startup, I don't think I ever touched base on that. We did locate that as lifter noise coming from this passenger side valve cover. So we pulled off the valve cover. There was some play in two of the lifters, so we just replaced the entire lifter set from the other engine. And she's purring like a kitten now, so everything seems to be good. But yeah, that's the long short of how to replace an engine assembly in a 2001 Nissan Xterra 3.3 liter 4x4. And hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.